All right, welcome back to the Caged Cougar Cast. This is episode 4. Wow, we've made it this far, Danny. We made it to episode 4.
No one would have predicted that.
No one would have predicted it. Our haters, they became our motivators. So what's new?
Well, what's new right now is the fact that I won the Fantasy Rock Band Challenge. I think that it's undisputed at this time. Mr. Welkin posted a video on the CK page, posted a video of him playing guitar and reading the bulletin, and it was very impressive. None of your band members have done anything musical, maybe ever. I'm just going to say that I'm going to take the win on that one.
Okay, well, we'll see. Apparently you haven't listened to acapella. Maybe if my band was like a barbershop quartet. Hello, 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 hello. Just for the kids who don't know what a barbershop quartet is.
Are you all of the members?
Yeah, there you go. I don't have a range either, so it just sounds like me saying hello 4 times.
No, that's good. That's a barbershop solo.
Yeah, there you go.
Good.
Yeah, everyone loves it. That one guy singing at the barbershop.
I like it. How things been with you, Mr. Randall?
Things are good. It's been pretty, I guess I could say quiet, but also in ways not so. So kind of figuring out how you're going to grade things in this new time and things like that have taken a lot more mental energy than I thought they were going to. But
yep, I'm with you on that one. I'm definitely taking some time to try to figure it all out. Plus all of the stuff from above, from the district or state, have been changing so much. It's probably really confusing for the kids as well.
Yeah, I totally agree. Before I think we get going any further, I think we have our special guest on the line, so we should invite her in.
All right. We are joined here today by a very special guest. We have the one and only Miss Orando, one of my all-time favorite CK High School staff members. Thank you for being here, Miss Orando.
Woo woo! Glad to be here.
Very nice. Well, Miss Orando, today we have some questions that some of our students have really wanted to ask you when I told them that you would be on the podcast today. You up for a little bit of Q&A?
Absolutely.
Miss Orando, question number 1. What is your number 1 thing on your bucket list?
My bucket list would include visiting every national park in the U.S.
Wow. How close are you to that goal already?
1/3.
Third.
What's the best one? What's your favorite that you've been to so far?
Ooh, many favorite for different reasons, but I'll throw out Yosemite because of the amazing rock face.
I just watched Free Solo on Disney Plus, the one where he climbs up El Cap. That's in Yosemite, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that was pretty wild.
That's crazy.
Is that when Han Solo emerges from that block of frozen thing? And
No, that's
look
the
at me,
sequel.
the Star Wars expert.
That's the sequel to Free Solo. It's just called Solo. Solo 2.
Not Hope Solo?
No, that's a soccer player.
Okay.
But I could totally see Yoda, right?
Yeah.
Ready?
Yes.
Old
That is
Faithful, you
definitely
much
true.
watch. Right, there you go.
Oh, boy. Okay. Question number 2. Question number 2 we have here is a hot dog a sandwich?
Absolutely. Meat between 2 buns. Absolutely.
I'm not sure why this question was asked. This seems pretty straightforward. I think it's a sandwich, Mr. Randall.
You know what? I know why this question is being asked. It's because we used to do this debate in my class last year, and we'd take it really far. So say you're laying in bed, you get under the covers. Aren't you a sandwich? Now the bed, you're the meat in the middle. The sheets and the mattress are the bread.
I'm wondering about key component meaning edible.
100% agree.
Well, then robots eat different foods than us, so then now you're just being robotist or humanist, or I don't know, not that word, something.
I'm going to go 2 votes to 1. I'm going to say yes, a hot dog is a sandwich. Me and Mr. Orando win that one. Question number 3. Did you have a celebrity crush growing up?
Oh, good heavens, of course. We've got
Can we get a name, Mr. Orando?
Tom Selleck. We've got Tom Cruise.
Nice.
Let's see, who else would be up there?
You got to think
Do
for
they
Toms.
have to be named Tom? Yeah.
No, does not. What was Dempsey? Patrick Dempsey?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I would say those are right up there for me.
Maybe he's Tom. Maybe his real name's Tom.
Patrick Tom Dempsey.
Yeah.
Yes, that's probably it. Yeah, very nice. Okay, very good. Question number 4 here we have, if you could grow a beard, would you?
Absolutely not. Although
Oh,
my husband's beard is amazing. So I'm a fan of beards. I appreciate beards. Just not thinking I'd sport one.
gotcha.
And I'm heading to the age
Okay.
where facial hair gets scary.
Okay, so it might be you could grow a beard, but you're choosing not to. Understood. Got it.
Just saying.
Question number 5. If you had to change your name, what would you change your name to?
Oh, this is a great inside joke with my husband, Fran. There's a lot going on with the name Fran for that I'll spare you the details, but Fran or Franny?
So no Francis.
Franny Orando.
Yeah.
Franny Orando.
Francis was my mother's name. Call me Fran. Call me
Okay.
Franny.
You can be Fran, I'll be Fran.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Very nice. The last question, we're going to let you off the easy today. Only 6 questions. Your 6th and final question is, what is your all-time favorite high school memory?
Oh, so many. Last one, all-time memory would be probably, I'm going to date myself, of course. For those of you who remember the Kingdom in Seattle, our team made it to the state finals and they won the state baseball champs in the Kingdom. So that was pretty cool.
Wow.
That is.
Where was that at? Or what school is that?
Moses Lake High School.
Moses Lake.
Yeah, it would have been early 80s. I can't exactly remember if it was 82, 83, but early 80s. But Rockin' in the Kingdom.
Wow, that is pretty special. That is pretty cool.
Actually, Mr. Sullivan, there's 2 more questions that we didn't get from your ASB group, but I sent to Miss Orando, so she should be prepared. So I guess I'll read it.
Oh, very nice.
So they are 2 pretty basic ones. First one is, what made you decide to be a counselor?
When I was a classroom teacher, so I've always been a fan of hopefully being helpful. That's the goal, right? So trying to be helpful. So I've always been, like in high school, I was a helper, and then always liked working with kids. And when I became a teacher, I was really, really interested between students who showed amazing capacity, like you could tell that their brains were like legit and amazing. And then for some reason or other, they had a hard time demonstrating or turning in their work or being organized. And that just became a little bit of a wonder to me. And so the more I dug and the more I explored that, I became interested in all things under the umbrella of counseling with the goal of hopefully trying to be helpful, looking at any barriers. So trying to help students with barriers so they can perform better.
That's really cool. We're very glad that you became one. I will tell you, I don't think I told you this, but we were in a meeting with a student and an administrator and a police officer, and it was a really sensitive topic earlier in the year. And you handled yourself so well, and you're such a great advocate for that kid that I went home and me and my wife looked into how to become a school counselor for my wife right after that. So that was really cool.
Right on. Thank you for that. That's always the hope, right? Is to be helpful.
That's
Well, it might
nice.
be impacting my wife's career plans. So thank you.
I love it. Let her know if she has questions.
Right on. Sounds good. I love the answer. I'm glad that you had something like prepared. It wasn't like I was picking up those little flyers and I was like, oh, that one looks good.
Yeah.
I was waiting to use the restroom because there's like a one restroom thing and someone locked it. And there's all the flyers and it was like, oh, go rock climbing. And I was like, oh, become a counselor. There you go.
There was a free class offered, so I became a counselor.
All right, and then last one, which is totally a typical question from a kid that is, confused or whatever. And I hear a lot of questions from kids who are confused. But I guess the question, I'm gonna just kind of paraphrase it because it was pretty long. What is it that you think kids should know during this time of quarantine and distance learning, etc.? What should they know?
First and foremost, it's okay to have feelings, and it's okay to experience discomfort with those feelings, whatever feelings they are, whether it's nervousness, worry, disappointment, frustration, all of the above. That's 100% okay. And as human beings, we have incredible depth and capacity for those feelings. And then I would add with that with that discomfort that it might create, we can also be okay. And so under the kind of concept of being okay, really encourage all of us, actually, students and adults, to lean into healthy things that help us make us feel okay in the midst of those feelings, like talking with friends and figuring out ways to be social while honoring social distancing, and then calming activities that help settle and soothe. And then another good one would probably be, I know that probably students don't want to hear this, routine. Routine is feelings that are uncertain tend to create a little bit of chaoticness to our being. And so anytime we can practice routine and rhythm, it gives our being a sense that things are going to be okay. And then I guess my ultimate would be human beings, since throughout history, have been resilient. So knowing that we can do this in the midst of trying times.
That's great. That's really great.
One more thing, the importance of humor. Clinging to laughing is a really good thing.
I think kids sometimes think like, okay, well, you're an adult, you have all the answers. You're a teacher, you have all the answers. You're a counselor, you have all the answers. Yeah, right. And I think for some of us, I think we struggle too. And I found for myself, having a routine, kind of hitting back on what you said, I come in my office and I work from these times to these times, and there's no one that's taking my time, or, I'm not punching a time card, but it creates some sort of normalcy to where I can do stuff that's school related. And I think that's good. And I think if students are picking that up, it's a best practice, and it can give them some sort of normalcy.
Yeah.
And I was going to say kind of what you were talking about too, is things that give you joy. I talked to one student and I said, well, just, do what you want. And if there's like a week where you're not feeling it, if you feel you can catch up the next week, it's important to do self-care. And I think that it's difficult, I guess, because we don't want to say that. Obviously, as a teacher, I want to say, log on to your stuff, do everything that you can right now. It's your future. Oh my God, you need to get an A in Mr. Randall's class. You don't get an A in Mr. Randall's class, you'll end up having to work as a caveman at a museum or something, sitting there posed all day. Not a good idea. And I don't know how long they're gonna need that caveman. I don't know if it has benefits. So
I'm pretty sure it doesn't.
Yeah, probably. If you don't get benefits.
No, probably not.
No. Health benefits are terrible.
It makes me think of, sorry, I don't know why my head goes this way. You guys can just play around with it all you want.
It's all right. Okay.
You think of when you're talking about how to encourage students and how to, or each other, right? Like for each other. So not just students, but just in relationships, finding that sweet spot of when to push and nudge versus pushing and nudging is a little bit too much. Mm-hmm. I guess we just have to rely on each other to find that balance, like surfing, right? It's just like, when is it okay to push through? When is it time to put the board up? I don't know. And working with people, I think that's a message that I'd like people to hear, is that we're trying very hard to find that sweet spot on their behalf and kind of on them to give us some cues.
Yeah, and we can't really deal with it. Kids come into our classrooms and they have all these different things outside, but at that time they're ours. They're ours. They're in the room and we can influence them then. And now it seems weird, at least it's antithetical to everything I've always done, which is like, I can't see them and I can't picture what's going on their faces or anything like that. And I don't know what they're doing outside of school. Maybe they have to watch their siblings, or they have to work, talking to kids who work 6 days a week, and so, I think that just trying to be there and finding that sweet spot of trying to be there and be supportive for them, is something that I think we're trying to do right now, and just doing our best, I guess.
Totally.
Yeah, I really appreciate that when we're getting when I at least get these emails from kids, or when I see them on Google Meets, and I actually get to hear from them about these circumstances, because we don't know, we can't check in with them on a daily basis, really. So it's always nice to see what those circumstances are and figure out what their sweet spot is, and what they can handle and what they can't in any given week,
No, I really appreciate that you guys are doing this, because it's awesome and you have a lot of followers. And then I really am thankful to get to be a part of it and love our CK community.
All right. Thank you, Miss Orando, for coming on. That was really great. What do you think, Danny?
Yeah, really nice. The kids were really adamant about having Mr. Rondo on.
As always, we got a company, or at this case, I guess a concept that's willing to sponsor our podcast. This episode is brought to you by avarice. Avarice, also known as greed, has caused nearly every problem in human history. And I'll ask you this, Mr. Sullivan, if you aren't lusting for material gain at the expense of others, are you even living?
I wouldn't say so.
Yes. So who among us doesn't enjoy the type of freedom that is only experienced by those who have both the form, i.e. choice, and the context to obtain vast quantities of resources that do not provide any sort of emotional fulfillment or lasting happiness? So how would you like to live? Would you like to live with only what you need, but people around you are proud of you and they love to be around you? Or number two, would you like to constantly pine for material possessions that provide you with no real happiness while others curse your name? I think the second one, avarice. Pass it on.
Wait, so we're being sponsored here by a psychological concept, the concept of greed?
Yes.
I don't feel like we usually bring on concepts to sponsor the show, especially ones that are thought of as bad concepts.
Well, you know, it's one of those things. I don't know if you remember a few years ago, you'd see these billboards like kindness, pass it on, or compassion, pass it on.
Kindness and compassion are good things.
Yeah, with our uncontrollable longing and our materialism, we need to be funded in this podcast. And I'm thinking about getting a bunch of gold Spanish doubloons and just diving into them like Scrooge McDuck. And so I feel like in order to really attain that type of material wealth, I need to do some bad things and maybe consider having a sponsor that's not so good.
You know what? You're right. So big thanks to Avarice for sponsoring the podcast. The good feeling you absolutely should have.
Go Avarice.
That was a sports team. Go Avarice.
Rah rah shish kebab. All right, so we're doing this totally out of sorts. We're a little bit off today, Mr. Sullivan, but we're going to end with, instead of at the beginning, we're going to end with the slang word. So, Mr. Sullivan, what is the slang word for this episode?
Thank you, Mr. Randall. Today's slang word of the week is drip. I learned this one recently, so I figured if I just learned it, nobody knows what it is, because I'm usually on the cutting edge of this kind of stuff, so I'll let you know what it is. Drip is referring to a look or style that is extremely fashionable. To use it in a sentence, we would say, sweet-looking baseball cap, Mr. Randall. Now you really got some drip.
That's interesting. So yesterday, it was raining, and I took my dog outside, and I felt like I was dripping. Mm-hmm. But the thing is that I was wearing just, sweatpants and an old T-shirt that had some taco stands on it. So I don't think I was dripping in that sense.
No, see, that would be the old version of dripping. You'd be dripping like a boomer instead of dripping like somebody that was dope.
Yeah.
Okay. A zoomer, yes, correct.
Yeah. You don't want to boom, you want to zoom.
That's true.
All I want to do is zoom, and a boom, boom.
Right. So some extra credit would be that we have also, in relation to dripping, you can also fix the leak. This is not one that very many people know about, but to fix the leak would be when you used to be dripping, but now you're no longer dripping anymore. It's because you fixed the leak. So to use that in a sentence, you would say, do you like Landon's new haircut? Nope. It used to look good, but now he fixed the leak.
See, this is confusing because if I get a leak, I call a plumber.
Well, you wouldn't be dripping anymore if you did.
Yeah, well, I don't want to have mold or mildew inside my house.
Well, it's spoken like a true old person. You got to get with the times. Dripping is now cool.
Wait, to drip would be to not look good.
No, dripping does look good. You fixed the leak, you don't look good anymore.
Yeah, okay, yeah. You fix the leak, it's bad in this context. But to fix the leak, if you're a homeowner, is good because you don't want to have some sort of damage done or you need to do some remodeling.
I would say that is true, but if you're walking through the halls of CK, whenever that can happen again, and somebody said, Mr. Randall, you sure fixed the leak, you should probably check yourself and go back to your old level of swag, whatever that used to be.
But what if there was a drinking fountain right beside me that was leaking, and I got out my trusty pliers or wrench, I guess, would probably make more sense. And I fixed the leak.
Then I would say stop carrying around tools in your pocket when you're walking through the halls of CK High School.
Yeah, and I also don't
Then
think
you'll be
that's part of
dripping.
my job.
No, that's true. We like to pass the buck.
Yeah, pass the buck. And, you know, I just think, too, that I know like 3 things. And that's not one of the things. Plumbing isn't one of them. You know, I know about a lot about like kings and like the royal families and stuff, which is something that doesn't even bring me joy. I know about that. I know a bunch of other like random history stuff. And then I know trivia questions or like sports things. And then I just know nothing else.
Luckily, you don't need to have a lot of knowledge to be dripping. So
Yeah.
drip it up, Mr. Randall.
I'm going to just drip all over here. I'm just dripping wet. I'm dripping all over this house. Don't tell me I need to clean it up. Don't tell me to fix this leak, pal. I'm going to be dripping all over. I'm dripping till the day I die.
Now you're talking. I like it. That's very good. Very good.
All right. Well, speaking of dripping, Mr. Sullivan, at the end of the episode, we like to tell our students, or listeners, I should say, our viewers, if we were you, we'd say our viewers. What do we like to tell them, Mr. Sullivan?
We tell them, drip till the day you die.
Maybe, yes. We do say that sometimes, but we also like to remind them to
wash your hands.
There we go. So make sure that you wash your hands. Soap and water.
As always.
As always, wash your hands.